Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So I am going to do a recap of the CVs that I've been doing in my past videos. And today I'm just going to give you, useful tips on how to draft a successful CV. And the first one here on my list is use the appropriate CV type. Um, Remember, there are three types of CVs. That's the functional, chronological, as well as the combination type CVs. So remember, the functional one is the skills-based CVs. That is where you prioritize your skills rather than your background, or if you don't have work experience in the field that you're applying for, or you don't have work experience for the type of position that you're applying for, then you use a functional CV type, because then you are prioritizing your skills and you are showing that you possess skills that are transferable into the desired career. And a chronological CV type is a CV where you list activities or events in their order. But in this instance, is a reverse. So your most recent activities first, and then follows your oldest activities. And lastly, the combination CV type is a combination of the functional as well as the chronological CV type. Secondly, we have your fonts. That is the Arial, Calibri, Times New Roman, with font size 10 to 12. Um, Personally, I feel that 12 it's a lot bigger, so I'd suggest that you use 10 to 11. Headings should be on a font size of 14, and they should be bolded. You can also make them all caps, so all capital letters. The margins must be from 1.27 to 2.5. That is the normal margins that you get when you open your Word document, as well as the narrow ones. So the narrow ones makes them much wider. They makes your text much wider and increases the space upwards. So lining space 1.15 and a maximum of 2 pages. This is irrespective of the number of experience that you have. If you have a lengthy career experience or a lengthy job experience, you still need to maintain the 2 pages, because the time that HR officers give on each CV is much lesser than you think. So, regardless of the number of years worth of experience that you have, it should still be 2 pages long. But also be careful not to omit important of information on your CV. I guess that's where we say, you should tailor your CV according to each application, but we'll talk more in detail about that later. Another tip is that you should always write your CV in third person voice. And third person voice is the use of she, he, it, and not first person voice, I. Okay. And for how you can do that, for somebody who doesn't know, you can check out my previous videos. You can see how both the personal and the professional sections were written, the skills as well as the employment history sections were written out. Guys, please avoid grammar or spelling mistakes. If you are not sure, you can use apps like Grammarly. They do have a free trial where you can just make use of that opportunities. And you can also Google some apps that you can use to um, check for any grammatical or spelling mistakes. So these two are very closely related. That is the include keywords in your CV and tailor your CV for each job application. So how you determine keywords on a CV? So keywords are mostly your technical words that relate to, for instance, um, the the specific jargon in that career field. For instance, um, in accounting, we know that to buy is to purchase. So look out for words like that. Look out for acronyms. For instance, HR stands for human resources. Just look for technical words that are not, that are mostly industry specific. Okay, and all things like your qualifications or the level of education are also keywords. So when you tailor your job for each CV, we're gonna see with the keywords that, okay, this CV is tailored for this job application. So which is why you cannot use one CV to apply for every single post that you come across. And also make use of action words or action verbs. We all know that verbs are doing words. So action verbs, we mean that words like developed, achieved, presented, created, designed. So the use of such words, creates an impression that you are a proactive individual, and that it just creates a positive light of CV. And lastly is the reverse chronological order. Obviously, this will not apply for the functional CV type, but will apply for the chronological as well as the combination. The functional is because it prioritizes skills, so what is relevant for the job and not what is most recent. The tips I have for the personal or professional profile section is that firstly, it should be as short and as to the point as possible. It can be to up to 100 words or 5 to 6 lines, and also avoid cliches. So, cliches, guys, are words or phrases or sayings that are overused to a point that they use their original meaning, in the sense that even when you say it, for instance, I am hardworking, it's not believed because the word hardworking and I'm a team player, it's overused. So those are the cliches that I'm talking about. However, bearing in mind that this section is limited to 100 words or 5 to 6 lines, there's really no time to be very descriptive and to be very thorough. So I would suggest that you can write those cliches in this section. So I would suggest that you can write those cliches in this sections. However, you need to go to the relevant skills section and clarify them or give more information about them. For instance, if you said that you have good interpersonal skills, down there on the relevant skills sections, you can then tell us what makes you think that you have good interpersonal skills. For instance, you can say that you were able to form relations with your clients, or if you said you have good communication skills, you can tell us about the kinds of people that you work with. For instance, be it at executive level, middle level, or lower levels. Surely, if you work with, those kind of people, you have to have some kind of communication skills. And lastly, the objective is included in this section as the last sentence. Remember, the objective is you letting the employer know what you hope for in applying for the position, or simply put, why you are applying for the position. Before deciding which section you're going to place first on your CV, either the employment history or the education, you should always um, see which one is your strongest selling point. For instance, if you are applying for a job that you don't have experience in, but you have the relevant qualification, then your education comes first. But if you are applying for a job that you have experience in, and or you also have the relevant education for, then your employment history will come first. So it's not always that your employment history or your education comes first. And now we are going to do the employment history section. And firstly, I think it's important we understand the role or the importance of this section. And its importance is to illustrate to your potential employer that you do have the technical skills as well as expertise or to perform the functions that you will be required to do in your new job. So it does not help for you to, for instance, when drafting down your employment history, to just say general administration. For instance, let me give an example because I also used to do this back then, but now I know better. Within the HR department, we have various functions, and that is just to name a few. We have ER, that is employment relations, learning and development. We have organizational development, and just to name a few. And obviously, I would also have general administration on my CV. So, what I would do in the past is that I would just say I have experience in, and just say employment relations, learning and development, organizational development, and HR and general administration. But that doesn't really help because what about ER? What about OD? What is it that you have experience in? Which expertise, which kind of skills from ER, which kind of skills from learning and development? What exactly did you do in those fields? So that is what we want to know. So if you just say general administration, what about general administration? Were you taking minutes, or were you answering calls, or were you filing, or were you record keeping? What is it that you were doing? So saying general administration does not help and will not help. So you must start to unpack. If you like, you can have subheadings, general administration, just next to it, write what it is that you did with regards to general administration. And then the next tip is that if you are currently in that role, you must write in present tense. And if you have left the job, those roles, those functions, you must write them in past tense. And then the last one is quantify your experience where possible. That means that if you, for instance, had 5 people reporting to you, you must write 5 as numbers and not 5 as a word, FIVE. Because when you use numbers on your CVs, they create a very good and a very great impact and impression, in the sense that when you write a number on your CV, they grab the reader's attention. So the reader is most likely going to read, what about the number, what's happening. So if you where you can make use of numbers, they have a very great impact on your CV. For those that will be applying for posts that they do not have previous experience in, firstly, they can make use of the functional CV type. And when it comes to the relevant skills, they can make use of transferable skills to show that they have skills that they have acquired elsewhere or in their previous experiences, whether they've been volunteering or whether they've been working as, for instance, industries that are not related. This is regardless of whether you've worked before or have never worked. For instance, if you are a youth leader at church, then you can claim that you have leadership skills, you have communication skills, and you have presentation skills. And obviously, you'd have to demonstrate that on the relevant skills section and just tell us that you are a youth leader and you communicate with the youth and so on and so forth. But mind you, do not mention the name of the church. If you were a political leader, do not make mention of the political party and so forth. And lastly, guys, please know that a CV is a very personal document, and there's no absolute um, structure. There's no absolute one way of doing it. I always say it's like a buffet. You only take what you like, or in this instance, what is applicable to you, um, and what is applicable and relevant for the job that you are applying for. So you can always add more sections onto your CV, but it must be 2 pages. That is very important. So you can add sections like your achievements, if you have any, your professional development, if you have like you've underwent for short training courses, and volunteer work, because volunteer work you did gain experience, but only if it's relevant for the job that you are applying for, and so forth. And then you can also add personal achievements, under the achievements section. If you've won a marathon, if you have lost weight, if you have, anything that you feel that, it might not necessarily be related to the job that you're applying for, but if it's positive and, it's an achievement for you, then you can add it in. And white space, guys, is all about your CV being readable. When a person has your CV on their hands, they can read it. And things like line spacing, the margins, um, and the what is that? The font and the font size, they all contribute to what we call white space. So I think I'll do a video talking more about it. Um, and then also it's very acceptable to send your CV to your employer, either in Microsoft Word or in PDF, but I would suggest that you always send your CV and your cover letter in PDF, because then it doesn't lose the formats. Other Word documents, you might send it a certain way, but once another person opens it in their PC, then the formatting might be lost and you see it's all shambles, and everything is just not connecting. And lastly, guys, send your CVs with cover letters always, unless otherwise stipulated. And that is it for me. Please look out for my next video. And yeah, thank you for watching.